All right, good evening. Welcome to Friday Night Live. We are sponsored by Craig Fail, the owner of Blackbridge Financial in Palisades. If you have any financial needs, make sure to reach out to them. They'll do a great job in helping you manage your wealth and your money. I am the pet man, Matt Morrow. And if you've never watched Friday Night Live before, you see the scroll at the bottom. This is your show. You comment, that's what we talk about. And then we also talk about the game we attended tonight. As the stream gets out there, um, I'll tell you that I don't know if you guys were at games with weather issues, but we were at the big Mallard Creek West Charlotte game. Of course, that game was delayed, like several others throughout the Charlotte area because of storms. The game got started around 7:45, and it was every bit of 3 hours plus. And it was a long game. It was a long game. I see 7 comments in the bucket, so we'll start with the comments and I'll talk about Mallard Creek, West Charlotte. Um, as the show goes on, I'm sure they'll have some comments from that game. So we'll fit it in as we go. So let's see what we got here. Of course, I knew he was first. Our Clover guy, Armani Bird, says another win for the good guys. 27-26 against Fort Mill. 4-2 on the season, and a massive test next week versus Northwestern. Yeah, absolutely. I saw that was a comeback victory. Fort Mill was winning that game. Was it 23-6 or something like that? Um, you know, we've talked about Fort Mill a little bit as we went through the scores, on previous weeks. And, Coach McNeely is a really good coach who had a lot of success at Lake Norman, where he was previously, before taking that Fort Mill job. And, it's taken a few years to kind of get to a point where he's really competitive, but, they're a lot better. And hopefully this is just the start of consistent success for the Fort Mill program. But for you guys play a lot of close games. Like your 2 losses were close. Now this win's close. It's a lot of stress, man. Good luck next week against Northwestern. All right, we got one question here. Have you seen anything on Providence Day? I saw another thing on Providence Day. Scrolling through the scores here real quick on Max Preps. The number of missing scores probably for weather situations and such. Providence Day played Cannon. Haven't seen anything, but I'm pretty sure they were able to pull that one out if it got played. That could be another thing. Chris Worcester, linebacker at Stuart Kramer. It's a tough loss for the boys in purple against a great Shelby team. I know that game was close at the end of the third quarter. It was 36-29 Shelby because Joe Hughes was there, our guy for the Gaston Gazette. But I didn't see a final score. But assuming Shelby won the game. So, but he previewed the game on the show, and I got on the guys, our Gaston and Cleveland County guys, because I didn't think they showed, proper respect. And, this result shows you need to show proper respect, for what you guys are doing at Stuart Kramer. So, sorry, Chris. You guys have bounced back, but you proved that you're real, and going toe-to-toe against a state title contender. So, don't hang your head, man. Just, learn from it and get better next week. Let's see here. Newton Conover of Mandy, thank you, Cal. 36-35, heck of a game right there. Let's see. Lanisha Dowd says, good morning. Yeah, I'm tired. For the guys that covered Mallard Creek and West Charlotte tonight, by the end, we were all dead tired. Just dead tired. But thank you. So Zoom says some details on Newton Conover and Bannies. But that's a good win for Newton Conover. That's an important conference game for those guys, and congratulations to them. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, you're here on the bye week. I appreciate that. There were a number of people scouting West Charlotte and Valley Creek tonight. I saw a few familiar faces out there for sure. Let's see here. Dudley over Page, 21-17 after they taunted us before the game. Well, talk with your pads, not your mouth. That's what Dudley did tonight. Congratulations to the Dudley boys. Second win on the season, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Zoom, thank you for those scores. We'll go through those at the end of the show there. Let's see. John, South Meck 46-20 win over Hopewell. That's another big win for the Sabres. That's their fifth one in a row. And, that was a game we previewed. And we talked about it and said, it depends on a couple of factors. One, South Meck getting the passing game going with Carter Gillis. And then two, can they slow down the Hopewell running game? And it looks like, they were able to do both of those pretty effectively. Thank you for this update, Quinita. Providence today, 55-21 over Cannon. So whoever asked that question, there's your answer right there. Appreciate it. See, that's what the CFI is all about. Family, helping each other out and supporting each other. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you. And once again, Kendall Rudolph, 51-29. Shelby with that win over Stuart Kramer. Appreciate that. Let's see here. We've got Lanesha. I see your message. I'm trying to adjust my situation here. Let's see here. Rakim Finch. Yeah, we had an interview with Rakim after the game that I haven't had a chance to post yet because I was rushing to get on here and talk about all the games with you guys. So appreciate that. Let's see here. Thank you, John Callaway Williams. He was a Petman player last week. Says he had 3 touchdowns total, 2 receiving and 1 pick six. Awesome. Good stuff right there, man. Good stuff right there. Appreciate that. Let's see. Karen Belk, Butler won over Chambers. I actually just saw that score. It wasn't on Max Prep. Coach Hales posted that. Butler won 23-12 over Chambers tonight on their homecoming. So appreciate that update there, Karen. All right. I see a lot of this stuff is Zoom posting scores, which is great. I appreciate that. But we'll go through the scores on the Max Preps at the end. Tonight about Mallard Creek and West Charlotte. So like I said, the game got started around 7:45 because of the weather that came through the area. But we had light rain, throughout most of the game, but nothing, too crazy. First quarter was a defensive struggle. 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. And I was actually recording highlights on my phone, and then there wasn't a lot of highlights. So I switched. And I'm going to do a quick, highlight like I, usually do for other games. But second quarter, things opened up a little bit. West Charlotte got it going. And the big thing tonight was Jamori Nichols and Rakim Finch. They hooked up 3 times on 3 different receiving touchdowns. They had a great connection all night long. I think that's probably the biggest thing that stood out was just West Charlotte's ability to convert on their drives that got down into the red zone for touchdowns. And for Mallard Creek, one of the things we talked about before, actually during the show, I should say, is they had to find a way to run the football because if they can't run the football, then it was going to be tough, and that was the problem. They couldn't run the football consistently in the first half against West Charlotte, and as a result, they were down 13-3 at halftime. But to their credit, I thought they came out with good energy in the third quarter. They had a really nice design on a play to free up their star receiver Khalil Price, where nobody was around him for miles. In the first play of the second half, they scored a touchdown, cut to 13-9. They had momentum. Defense went out there, stopped them. They got the ball back, but they couldn't do anything with it. And then West Charlotte was able to go up 19-9 on their next drive. And then really from there, they just kind of took control of the game. So, Mallard Creek had the chances. They had the chances. There were some short yardage situations where, either they just couldn't convert or they would have a penalty that would back it up and make that conversion attempt, a lot tougher. Sometimes they had to punt. Sometimes it just made it harder and they couldn't, get the conversions they needed. Just some stuff that, you can look at film, go back and clean up, and then, learn from it and get better next week. The one thing, I want to say about Mallard Creek is you got to remember they're a young team. They're a team full of juniors and sophomores primarily in a lot of their key positions. So, they're a bit ahead of the curve right now. But they'll bounce back and they're still going to be good. Now I appreciate what Solo Steve says right here, because that is very true. I talked to a couple people who were there in scouting and they said the same thing. The speed of the West Charlotte defense is what makes it so tough, because even though there could be times where you feel like if you're bigger, you can run right at them. Schematically, they can use their speed to, kind of hit you before you get going. And that's really tough to play against on a consistent basis. Let's see here. Davian Moore. Yeah. We'll post that interview tonight. I always like talking to Rakim. I've talked to him a couple times now. And, well-spoken. I see why, Air Force wants him, because he really is a great representation of what you want your team and your players to be. We also talked with running back Jasiah Gray, and of course we talked to Coach Griner. We were going to talk to Jamori Nichols, but we ran out of time. They had a escort that was waiting on them, so we didn't get a lot of time after the game like we typically would. So I'll try to talk to Jamori maybe on our show next week, because he absolutely deserves it. I mean, he played in an amazing game. Outside the 3 touchdown passes, he had a 75-yard touchdown run. It was actually a 2nd and 1, and they called I had to go back and look at the clip to see exactly, but it was a designed quarterback run. It was out of the shotgun. It might have been a quarterback lead or quarterback zone, but I know they called it just to get the first down, but then it just opened up and he was off to the races. And then the 90-yard touchdown run was just the kind of the nail in the coffin. It was a beautiful play, kind of out of old, for you coaches or football historians, old Spinner series, kind of action in the backfield. And then, it opened up perfectly, and great blocking by the West Charlotte offensive line. And it was those things you just typically don't see. Mallard Creek defense, give up. But by that point, they've been on the field for so long that, it is what it is. You can only, fight the fight for so long. So anyway, that was our thoughts on, the Mallard Creek West Charlotte game tonight. I will say it was a great atmosphere. Even though with the rain, sometimes in Charlotte when it rains, you kind of, dampens your spirit or whatever. But there was Mallard Creek had a huge student section. There were other, kids there from other schools. And their stands were full. West Charlotte stands were full. The band sounded great on both sides. I didn't record any of the band tonight, but yeah. I see what you're saying about the audio. I don't know what's going on with the audio. Typically, I have someone here to help me out and, tell me what's going on, but usually the microphone is good to go, but I don't know what's going on. I didn't change anything with setup tonight, but y'all let me know if it sounds better or worse or what. It could be something with the storms that came through and might have messed up the internet around here. I'm not sure. I didn't have time to do my typical checks that I usually do. So anyways. Any other thoughts on tonight? I know we didn't have a lot of games, so let's just go to the ticker. Once again, Zoom, thank you for posting all the scores, but we're going to go through them on the Max Preps ticker here. So we're going to share that out, and we will take a look. All right, so Metro Atlanta fell 35-28 tonight. Burns big over West Lincoln 47-19. That's a good win for Burns right there. We got Shelby 51-29 over Stuart Kramer. Huff 43, West Mac nothing. Weddington 21-6 over Sun Valley. Let's see here. Lake Norman Charter over Pine Lake 20-7. Me School Davidson, good win for them over Christ the King 28-21. Christ the King was 4-1 coming into that game. That's a good win for those guys. This is an overtime game. Charlotte Catholic pulls it out over Porter Ridge 14-13 in a old school defensive slobber knocker. That game was tied 7-7 going into overtime. Thank you, Paris Lytle, for your updates on Twitter for that one. Easton Randolph over West Stanley 34-6. We said this was going to be a good one, and it was. Olympic over Central Bears 17-13 tonight. Olympic goes to 2-0 in conference play. East Mac, third win on the season. Break up the Eagles, man. 19-13 over Valentine Ridge. Latin continues to roll 42-0 over Langtree. There's a few missing score updates there. Probably be updated tomorrow. North Stanley remains undefeated over Thomas Jefferson 23-6. North Lorraine all over Bonnie Cone 59-0. High Brighton with the win there. We know Butler beat Chambers 23-12. We know South Mac beat Hopewell 46-20. Northwest Cabarrus over East Rowan 35-7. Some of these games also might be rescheduled. I know a couple games were canceled on Twitter. South Stanley with a win over Union Academy 14-6. Christian won 61-0 over Ravenscroft. I saw that one. Forest Hills over Parkwood in a close one, 25-21. Mountain Island with a win over Albemarle 14-0. Coach Dub, congratulations. J.M. Robinson 14-0 over Salisbury. West Rowan, this is a big win. Carson was rolling at 4-1. West Rowan 1-3. And the news was the quarterback was hurt. So really good win for the Falcons, 21-14 over Carson. Corby and Big over Lincoln Charter 52-6. This game was played at UNC Charlotte. So that's a great experience for those kids. West Cabarrus over Hickory Ridge 14-10. That was the second win in conference for West Cabarrus. Matt Jenkins got 2 in a row now. Cuthbertson with a good win over Piedmont in conference 23-8. There's, of course, West Charlotte Mallard Creek. South Lake, big win in South Carolina over Anderson 49-24. Karen, East Lincoln 57-0 over Bunker Hill. They continue to roll up at East Lincoln. East Rutherford big over West Caldwell 30-0. Let's see here. Maiden with a big win over Fred T. Ford. There's Clover Fort Mill. We started the show talking about that. East Gaston in the win column over Bessemer City 42-12. South Point all over Hunter Huss 53-6. Hickory big over North Lincoln 49-6. Watauga all over Asheville 57-7. Ashbrook all over North Gaston 44-0. Lincolnton with the win 56-0 over Highland Tech. There's Northwestern, who has Clover next week, 26-20 over Catawba Ridge. Indian Land over Rock Hill, 33-9. And there's that Newton Conover Bandies. Joe, I don't know why it feels later than, well, yes, I do know why. Because of the weather delays and a long game. Yeah, it's late. It's late. All right. Thank you, Jamel. Cox Mill, 35-0. Congrats to the Chargers on a big win tonight. All right, everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday. We'll bring back Between the Lines this week, 8 p.m. Tuesday night. We'll see you then. We'll have interviews from the West Charlotte guys up tonight. Photos and highlights will be out tomorrow. Have a good weekend, guys.